Today is World AIDS Day, and Nigeria, as most people don't even know that we are now the second highest prevalent country in the world with HIV/AIDS. And I have three authorities here who are going to be talking about all of this with me, you know, to look into the matter and see where we're headed. Right here is Ibrahim Umaru, you're from the network of people living with HIV/AIDS in Nigeria. You're very welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Titi Oladejo Davids from the HIV/AIDS campaign. Yeah, HIV/AIDS campaign advocate. Sorry. Very welcome. Thank you for being here today. And Akimbo Cornerstone from the Global Youth Coalition on HIV/AIDS in Nigeria. You're very welcome. Now, we see a lot of figures, and most times we don't even know how to put them together. I know I've seen 3 million, I've seen 3.5 million, I've seen 4 million. Not that we necessarily need a definite figure, but how bad is the case in Nigeria today?
Well, if you say how bad is the case in Nigeria, it's really bad. Because I tell you, Nigeria has over 3.4 million people living with HIV in Nigeria. And globally, as at the 2012 WHO figure, globally we have about 35.4 million people living with HIV. So Nigeria is carrying about 10% of the world's
global population. Wow.
And if you look at the population of Nigeria, the over 160 million people, you're sure we are not close to that percentage of the global population. So we really have an issue. Because if you look at it, the level of or that number vis-a-vis the content and level of the response, you will know, yes, we really have an issue.
Why, as much as there's a lot of talk about HIV/AIDS in the news sometimes, I see campaigns everywhere, but there's still a lot of ignorance about it. Like, a lot of people don't even, when you tell people that Nigeria is second now in the world, if they laugh about it, they think it's a joke and it's a lie. Why is there so much ignorance about this?
Because some still believe it's a myth that is not real. Unfortunately, at this stage, 2013, for crying out loud, it shouldn't be. But for one reason or the other, some people still believe that it does not exist. Though so many people are now beginning to know that this is real and I need to protect myself. It's at the early stage, it's just like the early stage of that awareness and acceptance. You know, the first stage is denial. You want to deny me that it's not true, it can't be. It's too big, you know, to be true. It's too serious to be true. But, you know, after some years, after so many people are seeing so many cases, they are now beginning to realize that, my God, this is real. So I think that's one of the reasons, and that's one of the things that we should really take care of, making sure that people get this information and letting them realize that it is true, it is a reality.
Yeah. Mr. Kimbo, you mentioned something about a myth there, and I know it's one of the biggest problems we have, not just in Nigeria, as Africans generally. People generally just decide to believe what they want to, and when they hear things, they hang on to it, even when the facts are to the contrary. How do you fight some of these sort of myths and beliefs to tackle this issue?
Fortunately for us in Nigeria, we have over 500,000 Nigerian youth, even more than 1 million Nigerian youth, who are very tech savvy and who are on the mobile. Now, when you're talking of myths, you're talking of stories that are passed on from one generation to the other with so many magical influences surrounding it. But the fortunate thing about the campaign is that this could always be taken care of if we begin to look at other measures that could attract the affected sector. Between 15 and 27-year-old young people, 40% of the world is infected. And one way or the other, if care is not taken, more of such HIV issues is coming in different manner, as in we have Part B, Part C, you know, different pathologies developing because of the area we are in. So we should begin to look at the IT sector, where we begin to use the mobile platform to actually campaign for advocacy. Yeah. To shed more light on that, my day-to-day job is working with what we call the Nigerian Internet Registration Association, NIRA. That is the custodian for the .ng domain name. And tactically, I do this by the side, you know, to ensure that youths of my age, below and above, can actually learn one or two things. Now, if we begin to look at IT sector and we think of putting our campaigns on the internet and making it easy and accessible to Nigerian youth, especially we're talking about Nigeria, we're trying to reduce the percentage, owing to the fact that we have a large number of Nigerian youth who are actually in that sector. Pardon me for an earlier stigma language that is. Now, we need to start calling on corporate social organizations to begin to look at about empowering youth in this sector and informing youth in this sector.
Yeah, we're going to go into the whole youth angle of things. But I also want to stick with you. You're talking about the Part B and Part C. Explain that a bit more.
Now, pathologies, the evolving pathogens related to HIV. You will discover that the symptoms for even HIV differs from one person to the other.
Okay.
Now, it's like every other virus. It's like a malaria, which is actually even deadlier than HIV itself. And when HIV, when the virus gets into the body, what it actually does is break down the defense mechanism. Now, because of your own health, individual health, how should I put it out? Level or
the
strength of your whatever. It's a cough. Yeah. An ordinary cough could actually lead to death. So, because of the evolving situation in different sectors of the country we are. If you are living in Yobe, you could have your limitation. If you are living in Lagos, you could have your limitation. Probably an ordinary dust could affect you. So we have to start looking at how to inform more youths that the virus itself is evolving in situations. And if care is not taken, for a country like Nigeria, we're well blessed. We have multi-diverse culture, and our culture could actually affect and improve upon the needs if care is not taken.
If care is not taken, yeah. You've touched on the youth there, and I want to go to that now. He's talked about, being tech savvy, and that's one thing I know a lot of youth in Nigeria today seem to do very well. They have mobile phones, they're on Twitter, they're on Facebook, they know all of these things. But you still see the statistics, and I hear that about half of the number of people infected with HIV/AIDS in Nigeria today are between 15 and 24, something along those lines. Why are they still the most infected if they should know the most?
First and foremost, before answering your question, I'd like to go back to your first issue where you talked about the media.
Yeah.
As regards to HIV and AIDS, I feel the media is not doing enough.
Okay.
And I'll tell you this. I've been privileged and opportunity to be a judge to the Red Ribbon Awards for over 3 times. And when you see the quality, the content of the entries from the media is appalling. It's going down this way. And if you look at
the Red Ribbon Awards is like an awards for journalists.
Journalists and even community actors,
okay,
anchored by Journalists Against AIDS.
Okay, great.
The content of entries from the media is only that one thread. And right now, sometimes when some journalists publish some stories or maybe on the print media, when I read it, you see it lacks content. There's no investigation following up. And the truth is this: if this is an issue in this country and it's not in the media, then it's not an issue yet. So the media is not doing much. Why, as far as I'm concerned, why this day is just that 1st of December? But you have an issue that is living with you every second, yes, every minute, every hour. Behold, PDP, APC issue is an everyday thing on all newspapers. So as far as I'm concerned, the media is not doing enough. And part of that, because the media is supposed to be the part of the mechanism for education, that is what is impacting on the low impact of the youth. It has a very strong link.
Yeah.
So if the media anchors it, look at it. What has been the issue? It's very difficult for us, just like human beings, to let go of the past. Years back, when you talk about HIV, you see a skull and bones.
Yes.
At that time, the impression is this: HIV is a death sentence. But I can tell you, I've lived with this stupid virus for over a decade and a half, and I can tell you, the situation we have right now is no longer a death sentence; it's a manageable health condition. Yeah. People have diabetes. People have hypertension, malaria and the rest. Just as you mentioned, malaria kills more people than even HIV. And I put it to you, HIV itself does not kill anybody. But it opens 1,001 doors of things that will kill you.
For other things to kill
Part of those things are stigma. Ignorance, is worst of all encapsulated in ignorance. And the media is influencing the ignorance. They are not doing enough. That is the issue. And if you talk about the youth, this area of, I think the major source of infection from this climb is from records is unprotected sexual escapades between an infected person and an uninfected person. And if you look at the youth, and that's why it hurts some of us who are parents with the ASU issue address. The idle mind is devil's workshop. You leave these children at home and the rest, not tasking them, not keeping them busy. And with the internet and with just at your fingertips, you see a lot of funny things. And before you know, the body goes gaga. When the body goes gaga, without protection, you are exposed to a lot of things. So part of this thing, the ASU thing, is affecting HIV issues. So
children need to be engaged, basically.
They need to be engaged. Yeah. And that because the youth age is a discovery age. You explore so much as a youth and rest. Because the mind is eager, ready to go at work. And for God's sake, if you don't put that mind at task, there are issues on hand.
So sometimes I feel like